Welcome to our lovely future humans and our 5D collective to being yourself in connection. So, the smart way, stable, mature, adaptive, rational, teachable. Anyone who's emotionally intelligent will know I'm going to read you a Sadhguru quote: how to live a love affair need not be with any particular person. You could have a great love affair with life itself. So when you own your 0 1 year old, and that's why you don't actually follow a herd, you don't change for a herd, you don't actually confuse true leadership with the facades, the fake leadership. And with that being said, all the attachment trauma educated stuff that I have has made me a lot more capable to tell you discerning, equanimous love. That's what one God is. As you will read in the chapter that I wrote in a book I'm a co-author of, The Ways to God, and you'll learn about my lovely Holy Trinity, my good Christian Catholic upbringing, and my first light body experience. That's with my my confirmation. And then I got awoken to my spiritual gifts, or clairs, or really the scientists also look into it. So when you discern, that's why we have scientists proving, thanks Thomas Campbell and more, how love wins and how truth is always what stays. And I already knew that by the time I was a kid. Lies have short legs is an Italian saying. Knots always come to the comb, another Italian saying. And when I think of Cain and Abel, whichever one was the envious one, those are all the people that could use therapy. And if they don't go and become whole, then they won't become strong, they won't become courageous, and they won't become curious, and we won't meet them. We'll meet their 5 Cusco hands, and so we'll meet their adaptive child part. And so when you are an intelligent person, you will know leaders are emotionally stable, they're emotionally mature, and they're emotionally intelligent. So they are discerning, and they do lead because they know how not to bring forth their biases, their charges. They don't do effective realism. They are broken free from it. So their strong emotions are not facts. And so when someone doesn't believe in science, that's a person I leave them talk, because that's it. I am the pseudoscience lady. I know science. You can live a longer life. You can live a healthy life as you age. And when I hear grown-ups telling children that they all are going to get all old, and no, eat moderately, eat healthy, do workout, yes, but first of all, use your ventral energy. So when you have healthy self-worth people, the longevity comes because we know the data. The data proves it again and again. Your body comes first and your mind comes next, but your mind is with the talking. Mental activity, soft. Emotional activity, easy. Those are the emotionally intelligent people. Leaders are not going to be unreliable. Those who are unreliable, we don't trust them. In fact, we don't follow the herd of the immature, unintelligent, and more people. So yeah, the ones who don't like equanimity, they're definitely not followable. The ones who don't like discernment, or think that using the word discernment but then saying I trust my own gut, my own gut was actually wanting to continue using time in ways and not eating in a specific manner. So a smart 45-year-old woman who's of the age is, okay, let me get a good nutritionist. And we have our 5D Mystic Skeptic Nutritionist Diary on purpose, because I'm like, I get to complain a little bit about something. My 3-year-old, my ego, I don't want to do the diet. Ego don't like change. But when your ego and yourself are friends, it's okay, we are doing the diet. It's intrigue. That's the word that comes from the feeling that came up by the 3rd time. This was 3 days prior to starting the diet, okay? So we don't change for others. That's you having your differentiated self. She's always the same, my 0 1-year-old, my 3 to 7-year-old, and then my 11, 12, 13, 14, 14, 15, 16, and the freeze response. So we have child parts, and they do come up, but they're not coming up for work to have to be done in the presence of others. They are things we work on when we're dealing with unknowns, unexpecteds, unwanteds from within ourselves while going with the flow. That's why we have our growth mindset exercises. That's why we have our readings, our spotlights, the paid content, and the mentorship programs. And then for the digital products that are about to be released, we're going to start in the new year. And we have our 8th and 9th chakra that we're working on. And so you don't change for others, and you don't follow herd mentality. And we understand That's, again, I'm talking we for the collective at IHP are all A gamers, and so we understand what it means for transference or any of that, which is your stuff, because you can sift through sensations, images, feelings, thoughts. It's wholeness that makes you a leader. It's wholeness that we look at, and when we're meeting a fake leader, we know that they're not half safe to a person who's leading with their grown up, because we keep our child parts safe without the need of an external. The biosphere doesn't have to pay us back. Biosphere is from Terreal. The Mui, thanks to Dr. Daniel Siegel, this Mui, I know how to differentiate better, and it can be 1 and 10, 1 and all billion of humanity. And in fact, Tara Brock spells out how we pick up on each other. And so does Stephen Porges. So our human herd, we don't follow the small-minded, dopamine hit, defensive people, because they're all actually getting together in small little groups like the flat earthers, and they lack the capacity to notice that they've decided to stop learning from academics of now, and that they know everything and that they're going to prove it. Anyway, so closed-minded people, I'm going to leave that alone. I want to share some stories from how when I was growing up, I was already able to notice my gut. She knows what's right for Maria. My heart knows what's right for Maria, and my mind. And yeah, my ego gets stubborn, which is where working with personal growth and spiritual growth comes with a self-led body and a self-led mind. And so by being a person who's consistently looked to be in the A game, ego and self have always done the inner growth mindset. And then with harmonization, you continue to use that which is called eustress, the good stress, because that's why you're not crying and you don't think of crying or anger or fear as strong or courageous or surprise or happiness or disgust. You know of them as emotions, and you have fun with it. So it's not you're forcing positivity, it's that you're looking from the positive with the negative with neutrality, and you're having open-ended inquiry because you haven't come to any kind of conclusion. You're using your prefrontal, which is really fun. So once you get one hit of ventral energy, you're going to want another and another and another. And that's because the low frequency of those who are emotionally unavailable, the dopamine hit of them battling, it's very yucky. You'll hear me use 3-year-old words, yucky. It's yucky to feel someone getting off of a panic attack. It's yucky to find out that people are actually completely uncomfortable with the co-regulating, but they're not uncomfortable in basically telling someone they're going to kill themselves and then not noticing that they don't give a shit to let them know that they didn't, and that they, so sorry, I didn't know, none of this. So once you understand why a person who lacks emotional availability, it's not a monster, it's a person who lacks the desire to get their A game on, because modern day therapists have been around for a while, and so have all the smart researchers that I learned from. So the reality is, I don't have an excuse for anyone, and I'm not going to give somebody a pat on the back. You are your A game or you're your B game. And hey, Dan Martel, they're not dangerous, mediocre people. They won't be living long because they don't want to get their A game on. And they don't have to be healthy with their ventral vagal state and then do the right thing by their body and their selves in their 24 hours. They can do whatever they want. Ego doesn't like change, but ego, if it's with a higher self, an intelligent one, will know that change is a consistency, but not ourselves. And so here's where people are like, if you say you didn't change, you're not the same. No, I'm not my 11-year-old. Those are my child parts. So the part about what I've noticed is we have a lot of people that didn't keep their authenticity since they were kids. I kept my authenticity. By the time I was with my first relationship to my boyfriend, this is what I said: I don't change. This is what you got. You see this? That's it. My last breakup, which was what I call a traditional relationship, because then I became a mystic with my oversoul. I got 3 twin flames going on, so those become very, very unique dynamics. Anybody who's got one, you know, but you don't go into saga. This doesn't happen. No, and I, as an Akashic record reader, I've seen a number of my past lives with a number of not only the twin flames, the soulmates included. So it's really amazing. And long story short, though, one of the last traditional relationships was, the breakup was this: I thought you would change. And as those words are coming out of the mouth of the person who is to this day family, I'm family with all of the people who are part of my life, and the people say, that's weird. it's weird that you want to use the word love and you don't know what love means. And so the only human being from my past that I'm not friends with, and it's really only the one, and there's an answer to that one, and I'm going to leave it alone, but it's okay. The entire family, on the other hand, we're all friends. So I love people, because why would I say I love? Why would I use my time? Why would I build a secure connection? And why does it have to end? Whoever said that because you are... So the people who find it weird, I find it weird that they want to use the word love. I find it weird that they don't know that, no, if my ex texts me, I don't want to fuck him. And somebody who says, don't think that's true, it's not true. Wow, really? So everybody needs to want to fuck their ex like you do, I guess. That's your idea. Okay, so when people think the herd is like them, you're not like me, I'm not like you. IHP community, we're all ourselves, and that's why we know that generalizations and stereotypes are bullshit. When they're used for studies, academics will have very good conversations on it. When they're used in TV, anything, it's bullshit. I don't like it. You get to see people playing it out on a wheelhouse, which is very much the small-minded, ignorant human beings that I continued to meet as I got older. Once I was with Twin Flame 1, you better bet I was very happy where I was at, because I'm watching these grown human beings in their mid-20s, late 30s, asking each other for permission to go on vacation, and one can go and the other can't, and they're looking at me weird. When I got to talk about polyamory, the girl that was asking was like, oh, so if he talks to someone else, you're not going to get like in his face and jealous? And my girlfriend, who's known me since I was a kid, she's the cousin of my teenage boyfriend, so she already knew. Maria's not jealous. She actively will become friends with everyone, in fact, that's the part, I'm not a person who's insecure, so I can be friends with anyone because you're not a threat to me. And in fact, the other part, I said, actually, if I notice that the man that I'm with is consistently looking at another woman, I'd be thinking, okay, obviously I must not be talking about something of interest, which would lead me to tell them, do we need to talk about this? Because this means we're not intrigued by words that are coming out. But I would also have fun with it, because I'd be like, do you want me to go call her? I'll go call her. This is what I was telling the woman. And what was it? My guy friend, the husband of my girlfriend, was like, oh, so you would do something. Yeah, I would do something, but I wouldn't be like, oh, let me get into an argument about it. Like, I don't understand, why are you all making such a big deal out of this? So that's how it feels when you're intelligent, to notice people who are insecure, is this is the insecurity. While they will say it's culture, or they will say it's opinion, which I get it. It's culture, opinion, but the herd, they follow movies around versus learning about their own selves. I was trying to get to the movies continuously replicate that, which is something that is so, like, it's not even taboo. So yeah, I heard the word polyamory being used in The Big Bang Theory, but it was with his mom, and it was in a way of, and she's polyamory now. So, at the same time, reading a book, Polywise, that tells me that there's polyamory, people say, you're not poly enough, that they're both equally immature and immature. What's nice is when you meet the mature ones who get curious, so they don't have stigma around it, and that's because they're not insecure people. And they don't care about what words you're using, polyamory, monoamory. Is someone saying, a comedian, we're all whores? No, we're not, but hey, whatever, you're having fun with it, I laughed. Someone saying you're all masochist, not the healthy self-worth ones, and then them saying, that's hard. You can't tell someone, wow, you just told me you don't have healthy self-worth, and that it's hard for you, and you didn't hear that. Okay, so intelligent people are intelligent because they will take ownership of who they are. You own the sense of self when you are a person who's self-led. So as an adolescent, there's only one time, and I can say, if someone says you have a plaque of shame, because people like to bring to you these death things, okay, sure, I have one. Yeah, I got it. I already forgave myself. I asked God. It's something stupid, but I remember that day. I'll never forget it. It's an explicit memory, and I'll never forget what I learned that day, which is all of those people, all liars, all backstabbers, all very much humored. And so immature teenagers, I don't think of it as funny. I actually find them all very much mean, but they're playing mean because that's how vulnerable they are, which is what I knew as a kid, which is why I'm like, yeah, you're all a bunch of cowards. You're backstabbing cowards. I can't be angry at that. I can only think, wow, I'd be ashamed of myself right now, but that's pretty harsh because you're teenagers. And no, there's no monster, Lucifer, demon, none of your bad behavior. So nobody's bad behavior ever made me think, oh my God, there's a monster behind someone. And then I got to grow up. And so the herd is nothing more than that which their leaders are. Now, the good leaders build A-game herds. The bad leaders build B-game herds. The B-game herds aren't any threat to the A-gamers, because the A-gamers are going to know, wow, they don't get lengthier by the minute in their life because they don't believe in eustress, and they don't believe in ventral vagal state, and they don't believe in using their brain effectively, and they don't believe that emotions actually are from the first years of your life, and they don't believe in the modern day therapist helping them. They think they want to imprison us, and they don't believe they don't even know what the fuck they're talking about, yet they don't want to believe in it. Hey, ego, what's up? Did you just create a whole defense mechanism so that you can just stay in the unhealthiness that you are? I'm doing great, Maria, says one random human being. We're not even talking about him. And he's not doing great. He's a heart attack waiting to happen. So when ego wants to lie to itself, you can't say, hey, ego, because that's not an ego. It's a human being in front of you. And so, yeah, you don't follow the herd mentality, because they don't have their best interest at heart, the B gamers, let alone do they have the A gamers' best interest at heart. Actually, we tick them off, meaning you can't be real. You're not always happy. Oh, I see. You want me to suffer. So what? Crying makes you suffer? Is that it? You need to see me. So yeah, I laugh at this, because that's the exact energy that people maintain as they grow up. They don't get stronger. They stay petty. My facade friend, he was petty, and he still is petty, but now he's getting older, so he's sensitive. So here, I'm going to bring him in, because see, this man I didn't talk to for 5 years, and in those 5 years, I was pissed as fuck, because his petty ass behavior and shallowness and every single bit of it was basically something that had me say, you disrespected our friendship. I'm not talking to you because that friendship means something to me. And so here's that adaptive child part behavior, harsh, unforgiving. So I told God, I said, I'm putting him in a hate box alongside this other person who has nothing to do with me. I will deal with it once I'm ready, because I knew a big word, hate. So it was not a good thing. And so as I waited, nothing happened. It was just in a box. And someone once said, if you're that angry at them, you still love them. And to the person, I was like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock. Of course I do. They completely, lied to me for no other reason except for, I don't know. They lied to me because they didn't think I'd be happy for them. No, they lied to me because I gave them advice, which was, you're single, stay single for a bit. 14 years is a long time. You need to grieve the breakup. I gave him smart advice. And thanks, Bezel Vanderkook. As you point out, you can't talk sense to a friend, and this is not the only friend that I told, this isn't a relationship. There's other men friends that I've told the same thing to, women friends as well. Between the women and the men, you know what I got? In the women's case, why are you taking their sign? And in the men's case, oh, this one was beautiful. I'll bet you $1 that you're a fucking object, Maria. Basically, I'm not giving you the exact words. And I was very happy I was far, far away from the person in that moment in time, because they were pretty upset. I told them when I called them back, because I lost the bet. I said, I owe you money, even though I can sometimes owe people money because I'm poor sometimes and I don't have money. And people who like to hold it over your head, it's like, wow, okay. That's something fascinating. You don't know how to let go of things. But then again, that's subjective opinions, right? And we all struggle sometimes, so I get it. But grown-ups, yes, we don't change. We all know we're flawed, we're imperfect. So you learn how to become more flexible, which is why my facade friend's the only one that I didn't talk to for 5 years. And I did, after I got to make friends again with him, that's when I got to learn what the timber of those who are afraid of a rejection, abandonment do when they pretend not to give a shit. And that's the beauty of the embodied brain, is that we'll pick up on a timber and then you'll remember it. Because once you've had one experience with it, and you don't have to think about it because there's no need for words, which is where you're not calculative. And it's really fun. So this is where, let me pause. Because I'm moving away from storytelling to giving you something that personal and spiritual growth bring forth to those of us who have interoception and those who are somatic empaths. And whether it's mystic spiritual or just mindful, when you're equanimous and you're discerning and you're loving, you'll be slowly, completely, you don't hear any of petty energy. So envy, jealousy, spite, any of that, which, that Cain Abel thing, okay? And so as you grow up and you get older, when you meet anyone who is unhealthy, you won't really be intrigued. So my amygdala is not intrigued by unhealthy self-worth people. And my amygdala, I know when it's intrigued because I will be alerted. When I know there's a mind and body, meaning other, that will be of intrigue to that which my 14-month-old likes, which is intelligence, mentally and emotionally. And so that, cultured, but not with yesterday's news, with yesterday and today's news. That is funny and having a good time with all. Okay, so they have all their child parts. They're not holding anything, any kind of resentment and all that shit. They're able to be a grown-up about it. And when they meet emotionally immature people, they know that that's not their best behavior, but they know that they have options, and they know that they can't condemn because they don't live in their body. They can express their opinion. So grown human beings express their opinion, and they don't back the herd up when the herd is petty. They also don't need to shame the herd in a way of being aggressive, because conversations are what can lead people to actually explore a subject matter. However, if people, so the jealousy thing, let me bring it back into the mix. When I know it's culture for those who are monoamory and or Italian and or American, it doesn't really matter. I'm not going to say you have to do anything. You don't have to do shit. And I don't really care if they're curious about it or if they are going to condemn or taboo it, because I don't change who I am because you don't like it. I don't follow the herd. I'm doing Maria. You don't like me. You don't have to like me. When I've read some people are upset that their friends don't want to be friends with them because they think that they're going to make their significant other polyamory, I think, wow, is that how weak you are? Like, you actually think that people can influence another. Oh, I'm sorry, give them the idea. Oh, I forgot, that's right, the word change. Let's use that again, because that's how apparently people, to me, you don't notice that you're telling me someone doesn't have character, which basically is they don't own their sense of self, which then means go to therapy. So you can own your sense of self, then words won't matter to you because you won't think, oh, if I have a polyamory around me, they're going to influence my monoamory boyfriend or girlfriend. Yeah, partner, please. I'm not a child. Like, seriously, those words. I'm thinking 45 here, not 16 and not 18 and not 20. And what the heck? How old are you to use that still? I feel very awkward when I hear those words. And that's subjective. But that's because I'm also bilingual. So we actually use different words in Italian. And when I hear the whole boyfriend, girlfriend, I remember I met a grown couple who basically looked like 16-year-olds as they were telling me about them being boyfriend, girlfriend. And I was containing myself as I looked at them, thinking very things like, okay, wow, I'm near people who seem so, no, it's not their frequency. But then again, I hang out with smart experts. And so like Dr. Daniel Siegel, his partner, even Terry Real uses the word partner. So experts use words like experts know how to. Society, which is why I don't go and let me tune into society with their pop culture shit, because no, I like to be a person who is learning how to be more expansive, not dumbed down, because that's how it feels when I need to go grab pop culture and then I get to see why people are complaining about self-help. Yeah, complaining because you're following people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about, because you haven't bothered to notice that there's a bunch of experts out there. But oh, I'm sorry, in high school I got booed for asking about homework on a Friday evening. So you must not like to learn things. It's boring to learn information, but you think you're learning from TV shows and movies, and you think they know pop culture the right way to talk about things. Yeah, they know the pop culture way to talk about things. And then we have our intelligent ones who know how to bring some finesse, some grown-up attitude, and some expansive conversations versus what is a small-minded group of people. So I'm going to share with you another story, and this I'll never forget, because this is one of the traditional boyfriends, and it's the same one who said to me, I thought you would change. And I said, what? I told you specifically these words. I don't change. This is who I am. So this human being and I, he, I'm sure, still remembers whenever I would get into it, because, oh my gosh, there were moments where I'm like just all over the place. So we're getting ready to go to his boss's house. And I'm a person who's about the feminist, no, I'm a humanist, but I will speak of feminine and male equality, and I will speak about topics that I believe are important, and not because they have to be spoken about, because I will. And he said, but remember, Maria, it was either don't be yourself or don't talk about the things you usually talk about, something like that. And I was just like, wow, told him a bunch of things, and then I said, this is the last time I'm coming, because if I can't avoid it, it's best that you don't have me come with you, because I'm not going to avoid talking about interesting conversations or my thoughts because you think these people can't handle it. They're ignorant then. What do you want me? I don't want to be around small-minded, ignorant people. And, they went on to explain, no, but blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, whatever. You're supposed to stand at my side while we talk about intelligent conversation, not dumb me down or have me not talk because we got people around us who might judge it. And that's where herd mentality. So the small town, I don't actually let me follow the small town people. No, I'm not following people who don't want to learn things. Cultured people that actually are intellectuals consistently can appreciate and respect differences. And then they continue to say our human species expands with knowledge. In fact, here's another story. What I will tell you is the couple that is a gossiper couple and immature, very different from the human being man that modeled that which is called integrity, that which is called a cultured man, that which is called a man who didn't judge me for my opinion, but who instead noticed with his middle school degree that we have different ways of seeing something and respected it. And so when you meet those who are true leadership material, they have integrity. True wise adults, they don't care polyamory, monoamory, they don't care whatever words you're using, they're going to want to talk. They're going to be curious, they're going to be open, they're not going to get defensive. When you meet a teenage version of anyone, you're going to get somebody who comes in, hey, excuse me, you're confused in science, spirituality. I have fun with it because I don't care about people interrupting me. I also am so used to ignorant, small-minded people that I've learned to have fun with it because I'm not actually dumb. I learn from experts, and then I know social people just keep on spreading bullshit around. And I have to have fun with it because otherwise I wouldn't go out anymore. I would be completely not in social circles, which, I mean, I wouldn't mind it personally. I'm happy with it. Online world gives me all access to every single smart entrepreneur. Gary Vee is amazing. Dan Martell is amazing as entrepreneurs and marketers who know what they're doing. Well, they're not marketers, but basically the teachers that I learned from, I don't need to actually socialize with pop culture. I don't need to be around mediocre, ignorant people. But sometimes it happens. So at the end of the day, they're not all that. But my point is when someone's shallow, because to me you're shallow if you're still using yesterday's news to talk about relationships, to talk about even emotions, okay? And then when someone wants to talk to me about, I'm a healer, I had to eat trauma dump. You're not a healer, and wow, trauma dump, you didn't even give them advice to go to therapy and thank them or say, wow, you've shared with me your most intimate stuff. Thank you so much, but this isn't what I do. Like, you didn't know how to answer an email. You answered that you're a healer and how dare you. So you were defensive, you were aggressive, and you used healer, which you don't heal someone. So that's exactly why people who are not aware of their parts, they don't hear it. The people who don't like when we can present an opinion, the people who don't like that will present something that is different than what they're used to, they get into the, well, I guess we just wasted our time. The person's afraid of me. So this person's afraid of me because I said I don't judge people. Doesn't matter if they're murderer, doesn't matter, I don't judge them. And so this conversation had happened first, then I'm at a table with these two people who gossiped about that with the person who then told me they're afraid of me, and the middle class, middle meaning 8th or 9th grade, whatever it was he had, his last was middle school man who has no bachelor's, no master's, none of that, but who's respecting the different opinion, because here's what went down was they're talking about a couple who basically, the woman got pregnant, the man, he and her were drug addicts, she got out of drugs, I think he's in prison still, but basically because they're breaking up, he burned her, so he lit her on fire, so he ended up in prison. She's had the kid, they're fine, and I just said, I'm so sorry for both of them. I feel sad for both. I'm sure they loved each other. For them to make a baby, they must have loved each other. That's my way of interacting with the information. And the man turns to me, the one with the middle school degree, and says, he asks, so what's your education level? Because see, for the Italian community, the entire, well, maybe it's just the Southerners, I don't know about the Northerners, but Naples, Italy, they know that if you're cultured, when you go to school, you learn things. So that's why his question came, what's your education level? So it's normal. Wow, when I see in America people thinking that a degree doesn't matter, yeah, degree doesn't matter, but it does matter. Even though it doesn't matter because everybody's getting it, but it does matter because it still means you did go and do something. Although at this point, as I'm watching human beings like this bachelor's psychology degree man talk about women like dresses and how he's going to break up with a woman if she had better sex with someone else, I'm thinking, wow. So, long story short, though, in Italy, again, it's very much looked at as a good thing when you get educated because knowledge is important. And so he knew from how I interacted with the information that I wasn't judgmental, which is why he asked about what's your education level. And then when I told him I have a master's degree in international relations and diplomacy, he said, well, that might be why we have different opinions. I only have the middle school. I only went as far as the ninth grade. 7th, 8th, 9th, I think is, yeah, and because in Italy it works differently. And that was very nice to be able to have that type of conversation. We both respected each other, and the other, instead, we go back to the car and they're like, oh, so you do believe in prisons? Well, of course, the prisons exist. Well, no, because our friend is scared of you because she thinks that you don't agree with prisons. And I'm like, even if I didn't, it's not like I'm the ruler of anything. And this is a perfect example of when you have a closed-minded human being who doesn't use two sides of the brain. They're still basically a defense mechanism of themselves, effective realism, meaning their strong feelings are fact. They distort shit that's coming out of the mouth of another, make up some assumptions, then go ahead and gossip about it, and I'm supposed to listen to the herd mentality? Yeah, I don't think so. I don't hear the herd except for their buzzards. I learn from the smart herd, who are the leaders, who are authentically continuing to learn things, share with us things, and they have that which is called respect. So when you meet leaders, it's because they will respect others and differences. When you meet an ego, you're going to meet a bunch of them. Pseudo-intellectuals are hilarious. I'm pseudoscience because I know who scientists are, but the pseudoscientists who want to say they know everything and the scientists don't, okay, sure, whatever. What else? Let me think. The people who continue with their gender stereotypes are unbelievable. But then again, in college, I met the sociology studies of my entire years, and they also made it very clear that people in the subject matter field of sociology can't get it together because they disagree on nurture or nature. And I just think if we have more integrated brains, which I know we're going to have, thanks Dr. Dan, we're going to have more classrooms that learn things, and we're going to have more people who become mature enough to know how to continue to expand conversations, which is why we're going to have more of the consilience approach, which is amazing. And so when I've been around ignorant people, I will respect them because my mother taught me good manners. And also I'm ignorant of things too. So we all fuck it up. We all can make mistakes. I can be considered rude. I can also be considered an asshole. I don't do things on purpose, meaning to hurt anybody's feelings, but that's where I've been told, yeah, but it doesn't matter. So if you have hurt my feelings, then you owe me an apology. And I'm like, well, that makes sense, but I probably won't be friends with you anymore either, because obviously we have different ways of talking to the point of where we can't find a way to harmonize, which I'm okay with because I don't need you as a friend. I need air, water, and food to breathe. That's about it. Breathe, drink, eat. That's what I need. Other than that, I don't need you as a social person in my life, and you don't need me. And we have other people in our life, socially speaking. So when you spot leaders, they're always intellectually and emotionally mature. When you spot the fake ones who say that their team is right and the others is evil and good and bad, they're playing to a crowd, which is hilarious because the only reason the charming ones are on the Michael Stone forensic criminologist evil scale is because there's a bunch of lost boys, lost girls with Peter Pan who follow Wendy's, who don't want to go get their A game on. And therefore, when I see pop culture and mediocre behavior, it just takes me back to a bunch of different conversations that I've had since I was a teenager all the way up to now, and still to this day, when I have them, I have fun with it. Oh, so you're polyamorous, so I can fuck you? No. So I can kiss you? No. So what are you going to do? Are you going to marry me? No. You're not in my polyfidelity circle. So, and I have fun with it because I'm like, I don't care. The ones who get offended, I'm like, why are you getting offended? They don't know what they're talking about. But that's why it's called confidence. So when you own your 0-1-year-old, nobody can hurt your 0-1-year-old. When you own your 3 to 7, nobody can shame you. When you own every single bit of your child parts, you're not doing work. You're actively going to sound like this. And when someone tells you that you're a piece of shit, and they really mean it, and they accuse you of things that you are completely not culpable of, But you remember, like Terry points out, that it's subjective reality. And so I will care for my herd in the way my mother taught me, which is to have respect, even if they're bad mannered. And so when I will get accused of something that is untrue and I will be stabbed with that whatever javel thing, I will not be like, oh my God, I'm so upset. I can be very sad, yes. And I can, big girls, they do cry. And then what I can say is, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure. I'm so sorry. I didn't realize how hard it was and how bad of a friend or whatever it is I was. So I'm going to go. But it was a pleasure, because that's how it works when you actually do respect that there's differences and that some people don't grow out of being that which is called an adaptive child. Harsh, unforgiving, the black and white thinking. So when you're growing up, if you don't break yourself free from that which is ego town and that which is a herd mentality of small-minded group of people with effective realism going on, you get to go have fun on YouTube and watch as they, continue doing that which my teenage friends did. And they continue to talk about a monster that, by the way, as a mystic, when I told the person that I told what I told them, I was trying to ask for what reasoning are they giving you for why they're not actually taking neuroscience, neurobiology, all of that which proves that God's perfection is within every human, seriously. Decentralizing in the self and religious experiences explains how there's no demons inside the head of anyone and how things work and how it can go well and how it can go not well, and that therapy helps. So how are they explaining to you why they're rejecting it, like they're officially rejecting it on paper? Well, Maria, God doesn't need science, and I'm so sorry, but you're going to have to accept to reject it. Like when I told people about me seeing demonic possession, and they looked at me like it was a whack job, and this is how the person's conversing with me. I'm noticing there's a teenager in front of me who's still upset at getting rejected, and I wasn't talking about them not seeing what they saw. I gave them an explanation. So they chose their narrative, and they chose the narrative that was given to them so that they can continue. They're completely not thinking clearly. That's why the truth, no, it's not a truth. You just told me your distortion. You denied the truth, which is the explanation of what science is. And their reasoning for it is God doesn't need science, or basically if you're choosing science, then you're not spiritual. That's not how integrated brain works. Integrated brain works, it can all touch. Oh, look, I got an ego and a self. Ego, on the other hand, has half a brain, the non-bilaterally integrated. They're not owning their child parts. They're not doing any of the work. They just want pats on the back, and they're part of a herd of small-minded human beings who actively don't notice that they are not aware that they could all reach their A game right now. They could all go and get the bilateral vertical overall integration, and they wouldn't lose their identity. They wouldn't lose their image. They wouldn't lose any of who they are. They wouldn't lose their words. They wouldn't lose their group. In fact, actually, I'm going to share today's quote from Sadhguru, and then we'll close it out. But yeah, the part about people thinking that they're going to lose anything, ego and change, yeah, that's why it's, we always will go through things that we don't know about. But when you are an ego self, that's why you don't feel changed, as Dr. Daniel Siegel presents. You own the sense of self, so now you're observing, witnessing, narrating. You're having open-ended inquiry. Those words mean nothing, because when I hear people who are not leaders use them, I know who they are. So they're not powerful. Knowledge is powerful, but only when you're listening with clear ears and not talking over the teachers or thinking you're better than the experts, which instead I've seen in college and out of it. And I can't say anything when somebody thinks they're better than experts. None of us are better than experts, but no, they don't know everything. But you better bet the fuck that they're doing everything that is called research and academia and everything. So you minimizing it, dismissing it like it's meaningless is a futile, stupid word that will come out of half a brain. And it's called reactivity. So no, you're not a leader if you're reactive to information that you don't like. It's called you didn't notice your effective realism got the best of you, and ego did. So dumb, we all can be. But again, if you're rejecting expertise and you're rejecting data and saying, I believe my truth, yeah, I got my truth too. I believe in God. I know there's no Lucifer or demon because I know every person out there that's a coward, and because of science that I learned from who are facts. Like, I could bring a whole conversation to people, which I don't. I bring it here because that's where we're a collective of smart ones, and the ones who are out there, why would I waste my breath with those who choose to not hear when their mouth is moving in ways that are absurd, because I'm not a flat earther, yet you don't want to call yourself one and you want to blame me for the flat earthers being out there. I'm thinking you decided what you decided a long time ago and stopped learning things. Whatever you do in unawareness, you can also do in awareness. This is the difference between ignorance and enlightenment. Thank you, Sadhguru. Awareness, self-aware, accountable, regulating, emotionally intelligent, mentally intelligent people. Authentic is that which is a grown human being or person who's grown up. When I was a kid, one time alone I did something, I asked for forgiveness. The other time was me wielding my mouth, but that wasn't a big deal, so was the other. But what I learned is the herd, I don't follow the herd, because they're all actually this mediocre unless they're A gamers. If they're A gamers, then they're not part of a herd that way. They don't follow the crowd. They know what knowledge is, and they look to bring to the future and to the present that which is called integrity. So our entire herd deserves respect, which is why you're not going to go and point out the weak ones and call them names. But you better bet the weak ones don't know love. They don't know forgiveness. They don't know healthy fear. They don't know compassion. They don't know how to use their ego and self. And they don't notice that they're patting each other in the back. And like little teenagers do, they continue to see black and white, and they're unforgiving and harsh, and they're not doing any kind of making a difference. They're simply repeating the same old pattern, which is their unfinished business, because their parts work hasn't been done with the appropriate, I need to support myself to get out of being an emotionally immature human being and to become an emotionally manager skills, master skills, intelligence skills, and now I know how to lead the future generations because I self-regulate. I'm aware, accountable, and I can be equanimous, discerning, and loving, while seeing grown-ups say, you trust me, and I'm going to take my children away from all of this stuff. Aha! You actually are telling me that you don't want your kids to learn. You think you know better than experts, and you care about your children. No, you care about your children being whatever you decided is true. It's actually selfish, and it's not smart, and you're not actually looking to our herd. You're looking to your small herd like the flat earthers do. And so isolation is a red flag of any kind of that which is called insecure people, because the ego's family. That's why I don't need to use guru or cult leader. If you're smart, you'll know which one's the difference, because guru and anybody who's enlightened will always expand you. Anyone who wants to tell you they got the perfect fit, they don't. And anybody who wants, though, the perfect fit, they're the same who lack the capacity to notice. I want it to be well, it's what it is right, that feels right. You're all feels, I'm all feels. You just spoke your subjective opinion, I'm speaking my subjective opinion. If you really want to get to that which is called, what the truth is that we all have an ego, which is why we will want to respect each other, and we will also forgive each other. And we know our species is imperfect and flawed, which is why I don't believe in any of the conspiracies. And also, by the way, I've seen that which is called cosmic karmic balancing. But besides that, when it comes to God's perfection and our human biology, like Thomas Campbell points out, love and that which is expansion, consciousness. So you don't have questions for tomorrow with fear. You have answers, and then you have curiosity, because you're not afraid of how the end is. You're not afraid of the ending. This is the human secondary consciousness. So you're not afraid of, I'm trying to think of the word right now, because it's from a spiritual perspective. While for science, they just know, dark matter, dark energy. I love finding out how they know what's going to happen to stars and whatnot, and that's very interesting. But when I see facades and spot fake leaders, and I know that they're there for the emotionally unstable, the emotionally immature, and the emotionally non-intelligent, meaning low intelligent people, who don't want that which is the regulation that we can have, because they were not taught how to succeed in life. They were not taught love. They don't know self-regulation in their ventral vagal state. And every bit of all the scientists show how your embodied brain is leading itself to that which is its health. But as Gabor Mate points out, the gut isn't a great gut until it's healed, and as more than just one person will spotlight anyone who was gaslit and treated in their codependent years in ways that don't have them be confident. So You know, when you're a teenager and you're able to maintain your confidence, and thank goodness for my good Christian Catholic catechist, you're able to make the right choice and to say, I will stand with integrity, and you can make fun of me all day long. I won't give two shits. And that's what you will continue to grow into. So when I today think of those who are like the teenagers I met, while they're still the same low frequency, to me, it's nothing more than Tom and Jerry. And I see it when it happens. It's not hilarious, but then again it is, because I can see that they're having a good time. They're playing out their 0 to 8 year old, you know, they identify with each other, whatever. And when I look at the big world, I know everything's going to be fine, because that's our herd. Our herd always evolves. Life always expands. The only ones who think that we don't and that we are actually in need of saving are the same ones who think that they need to save someone, and that's the part of savior complex and spiritual bypassers and all those different groups who are navigating life with their pseudo-aliveness, their fantasy stages. They're hooked on drama. They need to have a superhero and a supervillain, because otherwise they're not motivated, which is why their low frequency is unimpressive. And that's also why their energy is petty, and that's also why they continue to basically spotlight that which makes me laugh and sometimes also get irritated. And that's why Buddha and I have a thing going on. And we'll continue talking about it. But integrity and love always wins, because that's where our herd is going, and that's where our herd has always been. I mean, our nervous system and our body brain protects us, and it began with nature because we were barehanded with nature, and now it actually consistently is something that we're evolving as a species who expands to engage in our social engagement system. So it's really beautiful to see as our human species evolves, expands, and our flow state and love come together. The body-mind connection anchored in ventral energy. You get one hit, you want more. You're going to keep wanting more ventral energy once you have had that capacity to just feel completely the restorative, embodied, self-aware, accountable, regulating person. Those are the people who come back here. They're self-masters, and that's why the heart of leadership. It is emotional, mental intelligence, and we do appreciate maturity and know that those who want it will leave the future generations with the A game, which means moderation. So again, integrity doesn't involve a specific set of actions, even though actions are important. So integrity, I'm going to say, will be where you can be the bigger person, because you can process that which is called a disagreement, splinters and ruptures, the way Michael Yapko points out, with your A game. And so you're not reactive like a leader, and like a person who wants to say, I'm a wise adult. You will use discernment. You will be equanimous, because otherwise you can't discern. You can't discern if you're upset. You're going to learn how to continue to pursue that equanimity with the personal and spiritual growth. And then you're loving always, because your body, it's connected. So you don't get in a defense posture when you have the integrated brain. You are in your prefrontal, and you take in, through a physiological state of compassion, what's happening. As Dr. Daniel Siegel pointed out to me, you differentiate. So you say, oh wait, I'm present because I'm curious, open, accepting, and loving. I'm also connected, open, accepting, and loving. And I'm going to attune to you, his acronym part, as I'm attuning will resonate by us speaking words. If I stay in my differentiated self, I continue to engage with you. Now I trust. So here's where I don't trust the herd mentality, because they don't know what they're talking about if they're morons, meaning ignorant from all the subject matter experts, and don't believe in science and don't believe in anything of the present day and all that stuff. They're not learning anymore. But I will believe the herd of the leaders that I know are authentic and those who are experts, because I know how they come in, and then I know how they advance us, and they continue to advance us in ways that will help our species to move into the future. As for mistakes, we all make them. So I'm not going to hold over the head the mistakes that our ancestors and that people make. We will learn how to support correction by being walk a walk and talk a talk. Let he who wants to see the world change themselves, or however that word goes. But you don't have to change if you have integrity, because you're going to stand up and know what integrity means. It's we all want to be seen, soothed, safe, secure, because that's why we will see a heart in another person. So it's when people dehumanize others that they're able to be cold and sensitive and then say, I'm right and your team is wrong, and stuff like that. So it's pretty straightforward. It's actually something our herd has had for a long time, but it's a 14-month-old, which is why if they're actually being ruled by their 14-month-old, they won't like any of that, which is IHP people and all of the ones who are out there, and maybe we'll never come across the content here. Oh, seriously. I mean, I never thought that I would be able to understand exactly why so many people don't own their subconscious and conscious, and how now that I have the words, Peter Pan, have fun on the island, and Pinocchio, it's been great knowing you. I mean, sooner or later we won't understand each other anymore, but it's okay. I actually am sure I'll be able to adapt to the circumstance, because I'm not unaware of that which are trending topics or any of the pop culture, because I do have to watch sometimes, a lot of stuff, so I get to hear things. And then I get to erase it. No, I get to watch it with those who are my friends who are on Pinocchio's island. It's fun. It's fun. Facades, yes, like my facade friend. So you love your brothers and sisters all equally. It's not nice. God chimes in. Everybody chooses what they want to bring into this lifetime. So longevity, A game, pretty much. It's. I'm curious. I'm very curious to see how I move forward and how we will move forward. Now that we know about eustress and the bright sides of neuroplasticity and how easy it is for us to access it, I know that I have a lot more words I'm going to add to a bunch of our inner growth mindset exercises, the digital content that's coming for you. So, meantime, thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.